Okay, we're back here. We're doing it again. We're pioneering. We're building. We're Jacksonville and we're PB and Jackson. Welcome back to PB and Jacks. I'm your host, Randall Thomas. As always, we're talking to people who are doing great things in the city of Jacksonville. Today, no exception at all. I have Sean Stenson, who's a volunteer board member and the business development chair with Northeast Florida chapter of Blessings in a Backpack. I'm excited to talk about this nonprofit, the great work they do, the impact they have, and just walk through life with Sean. Sean, first and foremost, welcome to the show.
Well, Randall, I am enthusiastic about being here. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to make sure I get this out of the way because, I prop everybody up for being great and you're no different. But as a reminder that not everybody's perfect, you are a Bulldog fan, correct?
I am. When you cut me, I bleed red and black. That is for sure.
You're a Georgia Bulldog. So not everybody's perfect, but you still do a lot of great work. And we want to emphasize that. Yeah, man, happy to have you. I know Blessings in a Backpack. I wanted to jump right into it for a multitude of reasons. The biggest reason being is because what I thought Blessings in a Backpack was, you corrected me. You said that's not
Yeah.
what we do, and then
Yeah.
you educated me a little bit. So I want to start there for anybody who has misgivings about Blessings in a Backpack or truly has no idea what it is. What do you guys do?
Yeah. So, yeah, appreciate that because it is a common misconception. You hear the backpack thing, and the first thing is, man, you have a backpack program. I know I've got backpacks to donate, and we're the blessing in the backpack. So, what we do is we are going after those kids that are in the free and reduced meal plan program. These are children that if they don't eat at school, a lot of cases they don't eat at all. And so these kids, if you think about it, like on any given day, say today, if our last meal was lunch and we didn't eat again until tomorrow, that's a rough go. These guys do that every day. They figure that piece out, but the really big stretch is Friday afternoon to Monday morning. Try that sometime. Let me know how you feel come Monday, right? If all you've had is maybe a Twinkie or something like that to get you through the weekend, you're going to be pretty ornery. So we give them a bag of food, right? And it's little fingers can open it up ready to eat, nothing that needs to be heated or cooked. They don't need mom and dad to help them out. When they're hungry, they eat it. It's nutritionally balanced to give them the proteins and all the things they need to get through the weekend so they come to school ready to learn. And the teachers put these bags inside the backpack when the kids are out of the classroom so the other kids don't know. Kids tend to be mean. And that's the blessing in the backpack. When they get to the bus or they get in their car on the way home, they open up the backpack and there's their food. So that's the blessing in the back.
I think the big key here, and I want to make sure people digest it, is that the blessings end up in the backpack while the kids aren't in the room. So their peers don't know that they're receiving help, and it doesn't open them up to any kind of potential bullying. I know that that's a problem
Right.
in schools, and everybody appears that they're living a quote unquote normal life, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, we do have schools that, we feed 100% of the kids there, and it's not a big deal. Those kids just line up in the hallway and just grab their bags on the way out. It's, because they all get one. But we have a large number of kids at schools that people don't normally think of. Like, say, take for instance, Palm Valley, Ponte Vedra. We have about 75 kids in that school. And when people hear that, they go, what? Right? I mean, those kids are all very well off. That's a very high end community there. But there are families that have been zoned in and districted to that school over time that they're just not in that place. And so those kids, they can, any kid at that age can be mean, like can bully. And so if there's an opportunity to find something to pick on a kid, they'll do it. So we try to remove that, right? The other piece that we try to do is like these bags of food I was telling you about. And this is an example, hopefully you can kind of tell, but it's got brand name food in it, right? So it's not generic stuff. We don't want these kids to feel less than. We want them to eat the same thing that everybody else is eating. But the cool thing is that we have a partnership with Cisco, and they provide and produce foods that are a little less in sugar, right? So like the Fruit Loops, number one, they're not Fruity O's or some kind of off brand. It's Fruit Loops, but they're 30% less sugar. So it's a little bit healthier. So they're getting the food that all the other friends are eating but it's a little bit better for them. And then there's like protein sticks and things that are in there, all shelf stable things, right? Nothing that's going to spoil, that can allow them to, again, eat when they're hungry and get them through the weekend.
Yeah. I think I speak for everybody when I can say that one of the benefits that seems to be pretty clear to me is when they receive the blessing that they're able to take care of feeling hungry, right? So they're able to eat. However, I am sure that there are neurological, neurobiological performance statistics that kind of back up what it means to have a balanced meal in their life and not going hungry between Friday and Monday. Is there anything that you can touch on that helps back up my question here? Is there something that shows that these kids are performing better in school because we're giving them nourishment during off hours?
Sure, there's a couple of, what I like to call side effects, right, that end up happening. Number one, the number one skip day is Friday, right? So if a kid's going to miss school, it's going to be Friday. The kids in our program don't miss Friday because that's when they get their food. So they're going to show up because they want their food. And so because of that, the crazy little thing happens is they actually learn things, right? Because they're in school and they hear things, they absorb stuff, they learn. And because they're also getting food, when you're hungry, you get cranky, behavior ends up, kind of going sideways. So these kids, they come to school, number one, Monday, nourished and ready to learn. They're also not acting out. We're seeing that these kids, their grades go up, right? So the kids in the program, their grades typically go up, their attendance is better, and their behavior tends to be better than before. So, and better than kids that are, you know, still maybe not in the program and still hungry, because unfortunately we're not feeding them all, right? There's 90,000 kids that qualify. We're feeding a little over 5,000 every week. There are other programs out there, so I'm not saying that all those kids aren't getting fed. There are other programs that we all work together, but there certainly is a large percentage of kids out there that could use support for sure.
Okay. So clearly there's benefits beyond fulfilling their hunger need. They're obviously performing better in the classroom and sociologically able to uh, be more, I don't want to say mild mannered, that's the wrong word, but they're not cranky, they're not upset, they're not frustrated throughout the day.
Yeah, think about, I mean, any parent out there who has children, right, know that there's that telltale sign when the child just kind of goes over that line, right? And they kind of lose it, and you just can't. They're inconsolable, and there's nothing you can do. And you're looking everywhere you can for a biscuit, a roll, something, cracker, and you shove that in their mouth. They don't want to eat it. They tell you they're not hungry. They're fighting you, and you get it in their mouth, and within minutes of them swallowing it, they're a completely different kid, right? And it's because that the sugar levels, all the things have just crashed, and they cannot control their actions. And unfortunately, these children are learning to live with that on a daily basis, and so we're
Yeah.
trying to help curb some of that.
Yeah, it's brutal. From a school's perspective, how many schools, you can just do percentage wise, we don't need to name names, but
Sure.
how much of the market have you guys been able to reach out to and partner with, and how much do we have left to do? Obviously, I think this is a service that we'd all like to see in every single school. So how far away
Sure.
from are we from achieving that?
Well, there's, like I said, there's, we're feeding a little over 5,000. There's 90,000 kids that qualify, right? So we're in like 43 schools now. So there's a lot of schools out there that we still need to get into. And the big part is finding supporters, right? So we can't go into a school until we have a sponsor, right? And sponsors can take the shape of kind of anything, right? It could be a business, it could be an organization, it could be a networking group, it could be a church. There's just, you kind of name it. It could be a group of people, right? If they have a heart for feeding hungry children, and they want to step up, and not everybody can feed an entire school. We understand that. So we have organizations like, Jim and Tabitha Furick, that have a foundation, and they feed two or three schools, right? Or, three schools, I believe. They feed, all the kids in those schools. But they've got a giant foundation that is geared towards that. Not everybody has that ability. So we have other organizations that feed 25 kids at a school, and then another organization feeds another 30, another organization maybe feeds 10, and we'll put all that together and feed all the children at a school that qualify. So There are a lot of different ways to do that, to figure that out. But when we do have somebody step up to sponsor a number of children in school, we ask them to commit to 3 years because we don't want to feed a child and then not feed a child.
Yeah.
We want them to have that consistency of being fed, over the number of years. And that also gives us some time that if we get into year 3 and that particular sponsor decides for whatever reason they're not, going to re-up, that we have time to find another sponsor to step up. Typically they go ahead and re-up because you know, the joy they find from doing this, the fulfillment is, just off the charts, right? Especially if you ever get an opportunity to visit a school and see these kids. It's just, whew,
Tug on
it
your
really just
heartstrings.
kind of, yeah, man, I tell you, it's, prior to COVID, we had the opportunity to do that on a fairly regular basis. There's a couple of schools that we could come into. COVID kind of changed that. We're trying to get back into that realm a little bit. But the cool thing that the COVID did bring was that bag I showed you. We used to have to pack all our bags. Now Cisco kind of stepped up just prior to COVID happening. They were testing this concept of these pre-packed bags. And so when COVID happened, it's just a total God thing here that we were ready to go. We just were able to flip the switch and not have to worry about people touching all the food. It was just they're pre-packed. We delivered it on those Fridays. We didn't miss, like when the parents would drive up to get their stuff on Fridays. They're free and reduced meal plan because they were still feeding them the lunches and stuff. On Fridays, we were there handing out bags of food to those kids for the weekends. And so that was kind of a cool thing. And then it's enabled us to not have quite as large a need for volunteers. So we could open up a new school really quick. The overhead on a new school is really low because we just deliver boxes of food and all they got to do is parse it out and say 5 go to Mrs. Smith's classroom, 7 go to Mr. Johnson's, whatever.
Yeah, and I want to make sure we give credit to the right Cisco. It's SYSCO and
Yeah,
not
yeah. The food
CISCO.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
The food one. Yeah, correct.
yeah. And then the other thing, super important here for people who didn't know about this and are learning about it for the first time, and or think that there might be a heavy expense attached to this. One of the
Yeah,
most important facets is what this costs. So if somebody were to sponsor or get involved or donate, can you expand on how far that dollar goes to feed these children?
sure. Yeah, so your $5 feeds a child for an entire weekend. So you see the kids behind me, with their bags of food. That probably would have been a better way to do it than me holding up the bag because you got these kids with bags of food. $5 feeds, gives them that bag and feeds them for an entire weekend. So when you multiply that out across all the weekends, and we just feed them during the school year, in a school year, it comes out to $175 feeds a child for an entire school year, right? And if you think about if you take your significant other out for a really nice dinner and maybe have a couple of adult beverages with tip, you're pushing 175 in a lot of cases, right? You're going to be in that arena. And so that would feed a child for an entire school year, right? So it's really, when you think about it, it's not a big ask to knock out feeding a child for an entire school year. And these kids, everything that we generate stays right here in North Florida, right? So that, everything we do is right here. And when you start talking about, is my dollar going somewhere that's appreciated? Look at these kids, you look at the smiles on their faces, they can't hide their appreciation, right? They look forward to it. They grab their food. We have some of the principals of some of our schools have negotiated some deals with farms and stuff to bring in fresh fruit, and these kids will come up and the grandparents and stuff will come and ask, hey, can I get a couple of extra apples or some oranges or something, because they don't get fresh fruit in a lot of cases. And so those are also areas where you just, man, it's like, oh, it just tugs at your heart. You love to see that we're able to provide stuff that they just don't get on a regular basis. That's also really good for them.
We're going to get into funding here in a second, but for somebody that might not want to present a huge commitment or go through the sponsorship process, let's just say that they made the decision that they're going to take one meal a month that they would eat out at 175, and instead of doing that, donate it. Is that possible? Can they reach out to somebody and say, "Hey, here's $175. It's informal, but I just want to give it to you." Is that an
Sure.
open door for them?
Yeah, so our website, which we're in the process of rebranding to North Florida Blessings in a Backpack. Prior to that, we were First Coast First Blessing in a Backpack. So our website is still firstcoast.blessingsinAbackpack.org. If you go out there, there is a donate. You can actually select the specific school. If you look at the list of schools and you say, oh, I want to donate to this school because it's close to me, it's local to me for whatever, you can donate into our general fund. You can kind of choose where you want your money to go. You can make a one-time donation or you can make a recurring donation that can pull every month. So we give you the flexibility to support us in whatever way makes the most sense for you. So it's one of the things I really love about the organization is we don't, kind of put you in a box. We just say, hey, and when we do fundraisers, we give those whoever's hosting, we tell them, hey, where do you want your funds to go? And we allow them to, again, select which school or group of schools or the fund, however they want their money to be handled. We let them pick that because we want them to have that flexibility and control.
I think it's important because of that people are aware that the board that you sit on outside of the CEO do so in a volunteer fashion. You guys do not inherit any of the money that is presented for fundraising efforts at all. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a managing director that works here in the North Florida chapter, right? And so she gets paid, and then she has a part-time assistant. But there's no brick and mortar here. She works out of her house. We try to keep our overhead as absolutely low as humanly possible because we want every dollar to go to feeding these children. So yeah, you're on the money there. As we just don't have this massive overhead that we've got to deal with. We raise funds and we try to use that to feed as many children as possible.
Okay, that's great, by the way. And I want to talk about how we raise money. We've got a couple of events that are huge, and then obviously we'll talk about the residual times throughout the year as well. But coming up, I'm from Texas. I don't think anybody I know in my life or in my circle doesn't like chili, but
Yeah.
there is a massive chili cook-off coming up, and I'd love for you to share the details around that and the fact that Blessings in a Backpack was selected as the recipient for whatever funds are raised that day.
Yeah, so the Beaches community has an annual chili cook-off. This has been going on for years, and every year they rotate who the nonprofit recipient is. We were blessed to be the pick this time around. So on Saturday, November 8th, so we're just a couple of short weeks away. We're going to be at the Bricks restaurant out at the beach. From 12 to 5. Right now, we have 14 chili cookers already locked in. So we've got room for 18, so we're trying to find a few more chili cookers. So if you are a chili cooker and you've got the award-winning chili, then certainly reach out to us because we'd love to get you out there. But we've got some amazing silent auction items, a couple raffle items. We've got an electric bike that's been donated for they're going to live auction that. There's just been some really cool things that have been donated. There's going to be live music, and we are so excited to have it out there. We've got some cool judges that are going to be out there to judge the chili, and we're just looking forward to an amazing time and some great chili.
Yeah, I think that's great, man. Across the board, the fact that they chose you guys, the fact that there's going to be some good
Mm.
food that comes along with it. I have to ask for the public though. I assume that the weekend before that Georgia's going to put a hurting on Florida. I'm just my guess.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
If there's a Florida fan that's cooking the chili and a Georgia fan comes up to try it, are they safe?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's for a good cause. But the entry fee is $10, right? And it's all you can taste. And then you can then vote, bring your dollar bills, right? Because it's dollar vote. But yeah, I would certainly hope
Yeah,
that
yeah,
everybody's going to be safe and that it's all about feeding hungry children. We can set all of our rivalries aside for a few hours and just enjoy some great chili. And I know there's going to be some amazing beverages being served there at the Bricks. It's going to be a really good time. And we're going to be focused on that and
of
let the
course.
other the game be, till next year.
One thing I'll give Northeast Florida a ton of credit for: four main schools to root for, right? We got Georgia, Florida, Miami, and Florida State. I happen to be a Seminole. But whenever it's time to band together for something good, for some reason we
Yes.
seem to do that very well. So credit to Jacksonville and surrounding areas, because the rivalry's there, but at the end of the day, everybody's still, they're good people, and that's what
Yeah,
matters.
and we have a lot of fun with the Florida fans, trying to put together things that we're constantly talking to them every year about different ways that we can kind of do some kind of fun, events where we do pit each other against each other to raise awareness around something, right? And so there's been a lot of conversations. I'm friends with guys that are, with the Gator clubs, and I'm a member of the Bulldog Club, and we're constantly in conversation around different ways that we can do things to raise awareness and benefit some charity. So you're right. I mean, yes, we spit a lot of venom at each other when it comes to the gridiron, but outside of it, we all have a big heart for our communities, and so we want to, things like feeding hungry children. I think we can all get behind that.
100%. Speaking of the continuation of events, there's a
Mm,
thing called the Bowl.
yeah, man. Yeah,
Super
who
Bowl.
doesn't love a good bowl of soup when it's cold?
Yeah,
And
talk to us about
you
it.
know, yeah. So there's a big football game that has a very similar name that comes up in February, and so the Thursday before the big game is the big food event called the Super Bowl, and it's Souper. We're going to be out at Boeing Oaks, which is right there, kind of in the St. John's, Duval County border, area. It's an amazing facility. If you guys haven't been out there, it's they do a lot of weddings and stuff out there. But we're going to have a dozen or so chefs from around the area. They'll have their signature soups. The last couple of years, the culinary students from one of the local schools has actually come in and won the event with their soups. So they do a fantastic job. So we usually have a student there. Actually, last year there was an individual or a restaurant that won it. It was the year before that the culinary students won. But they bring a tough competition, but it's a lot of fun. Cisco brings a really nice bread spread that comes there, and then we have some local dessert places will bring desserts. There's live music. We have some fun games. Last year we had a ring toss with really nice bottles of bourbon and some high end wines, and if you toss a ring and you rang the bottle, you got to win it. And there's great silent auction items. Again, just a beautiful venue, and have a really nice fire pit out there, and we have a great time. And again, we're feeding hungry children. We're filling our bellies with warm soup and feeding kids' bellies with good food. So
Yes, sir.
everybody wins.
Yes, sir. What about the rest of the year? We have the two big events. Well, this year, I don't believe you're the recipient every year of the chili cook-off. This year,
No, we're not.
we are. But
Yeah.
in the Super Bowl is an annual thing, so it's a big driver for you guys. Outside of people who step up and want to sponsor, outside of the Jim and Tabitha Furics of the world, how do
Mhm.
you guys fundraise throughout the year? And what would you say to the people listening, where you're saying, hey man, like $5 goes a long way?
Yeah, so we do a lot of different little events. Like right now, Rose Supermarkets is doing like a buy a backpack thing. So you got the little flyer that you fill out, and you can donate $5 or $10 or whatever, and you put your name up on the register. Put the little backpack up there. They're doing that, so we have those kinds of opportunities. I'm talking with a couple of different doctors' offices that are interested in doing something like that in their office. We do bingo events. Cole Haynes Irish Pub is a great supporter of ours. We've got an open door to go do bingo, whatever over there. So we try to do bingo there a couple times a year. We're open to that conversation with other locations. Anybody that's got an idea for, hey, we'd like to host you guys and have you come out and do something fun, I'm in, right? I'm kind of the captive audience and a microphone. Let's go. And we like to have a good time, and we like to raise, money. Just this last weekend, we were at Standard Feed and Seed. Frank Wallmeyer over at Standard Feed and Seed does a customer appreciation event. He brings us out every year. Once a year, we get to do one of the events, and he does chicken poop bingo, and that's it's an amazing thing. So look for us next fall. We'll be doing that again. And if you haven't stood in a parking lot with a hot dog in one hand, a beer in the other, cheering on a chicken to do its business on a specific number. You really haven't lived. It's kind of a Florida thing to do, and it's a lot of fun. And he does probably about 4 of those events a year, and we're blessed to be one of the beneficiaries of that every year. He's got a heart for those kids, and so we get to go do that. So just if you go out to Facebook and find us, again, we're the North Florida chapter of Blessings in the Backpack. There's several chapters around the country. We're the North Florida one. We're on Instagram as well. If you find us and you follow us, when we do these events, we post them, right? They're out there, and you can see where we're at and look, if we're at a restaurant or we're, doing whatever. I know the Cantina Louis likes to do things with us throughout the year. There's just different organizations that will do things. And again, if you're listening and you want to do something, please let me know. We're open to the conversation, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I don't think it would hurt to have some kind of an ambassador program where when you guys have events or put something out there, you have a slew of individuals in Northeast Florida that might have heavy presence on LinkedIn or Instagram that'll collaborate with the post or share the post to help get the word out. But I love that you guys are very active in what you're doing and trying to raise money so that we can feed kids and make the future better. So that's wonderful. Is there anything we missed?
Yeah, that's our board of directors is really our ambassadors, and that's what we all do. Gatorboard Sports, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about those guys, because every year when the football teams come in to play in the Gator Bowl, each team actually packs 500 bags for us, right? That's become a thing. And
Really?
so, yeah, so that's part of their events through the week, is those teams come in and they pack these bags for this, specific schools. And it's amazing because these big, burly, beefy, football players, there's always about 7 to 10 of them that this was them. These kids that was them, right? And they stay till the very end to make sure every morsel of food is packed. And it's just awesome to see, right, that they're just not, they want to make sure they pay it forward to that next generation. So that's a really cool thing. Those guys have been great supporters. So their whole program is all about giving back to the different charities. We're one of the ones that's blessed. They do a packing event within their members every year, and then they have they organize with the football players when the bowl's here, so we go out and help them, support them do that as well. So that, want to make sure I give them a little shout out. But yeah, it's just, we go out, we talk to folks, we try to find individuals and organizations and businesses that want to help feed these kids. And if you're interested, we want to have the conversation. We're interested in the conversation for sure.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I want to end this like I end everything in saying that I made this podcast so that we could elevate people that were pioneering in the community or building businesses or in some particular fashion making Northeast Florida better. Undoubtedly, you and the board and Blessings in a Backpack in general are doing everything that they can to make Jacksonville better. So on behalf of myself and the city, I do want to say thank you for all you do. And I can't wait to see how you continue to flourish and grow this thing, make it bigger and better so that no kid goes hungry.
Appreciate it. That is the mission, right? To end childhood hunger here in North Florida. So I appreciate your support, and it's just blessed to be able to do it.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, we'll turn this thing over to the audience shortly, and I can't wait to see what the turnout looks like for some chili. I'll be there with my singles, and
All right.
let's crown the winner, man. Thanks for being on.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.